roll. So I want each of you take 2 of these. Make sure I have enough. Yeah. Take 2 name tags.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have 2.
Okay. And then on one name tag, I want you guys to write something positive that you say to yourself, whether you're working out, in practice, in a game, just something positive that like you think to yourself. And on the other one, I want you to write something negative that bounces around, whether you're in the weight room, conditioning, in practice, in a game, in the huddle, just any aspect of sport, a positive and a negative opinion, or like what do you think confidence is? Whether it's like a definition or like an example of something or within your team or
I mean, like my confidence is just knowing like that you are capable of doing it, and you just have to like know that you can do it. Like you've done it before, but that you may have a mistake, but it's just like it is what it is and you move on from it. So just know that like you've done it before, you can do it again, so just keep practicing and you'll get better.
Yeah, I agree. I think confidence is just believing you can do something even if you haven't done it before, even just knowing that you can do whatever you put your mind to, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's always that feeling of like you got it, or like if you do make a mistake, the ability to learn from it.
Yeah. What is something that can break down your confidence? Like
it's like that day that you like feel like you can't get anything right, and then you get to like the next practice and all you can think about is that you didn't get yesterday right.
Yes, yeah. I agree, and I feel like if it's just like mistake after mistake on that day that was like not good for you, it's just kind of like, okay, like now what is happening to me? And like you tell yourself we all have those days, but it's like today just feels worse than the day. Like it kind of just like it's all mental in that state, and I just feel like, and I agree, like I'll go into the next practice, like okay, well, last practice you had like dropped all these balls, or you can't get like you didn't stop these passes. So I just feel like it is very. It's really hard to like fight through it all, but
yeah.
A physical thing for me would be like I have a really hard time pulling the ball, and every time I run into somebody, it literally physically stops me, and then I just stop because I know that I can do it, and it's been a problem for me for literally years. And it just stops me, and then I'm like, well, I mean, you suck. Like you've been doing this for years, and you still can't pull the ball. I don't know why. And then I think it's just saying that to myself once I make like the error or do something wrong, and then I don't bounce back from it.
Yeah. So that actually is like a really good connecting point. Is like, what are some of your thoughts when you're
like why can't you do anything? Because you've been doing this for years and practicing the same sport for so long, and you know the little things that our coach tells us. It's like the little fundamental things that we have to get right first, and when you can't even do those right, it's like, what am I to the team?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's this little thing, I'm sure you guys have heard about it, but it's called self-talk, and it's literally this inner dialogue that just runs all the time. And it's not even like non-athletes have inner self-talk. Like, I gotta do my laundry, I gotta do the dishes, I should probably make food at some point. So and that's exactly what it is. Like it's just this like monotonous how you get through your day. And with athletes, it can be super helpful when it's a positive in game and practice. Conditioning, lifting, but it can also be super detrimental because it can kind of overtake your brain. So we're gonna go to the name tags. So I want you guys to share your negatives.
Okay, so I said you suck and you need to catch the ball and shoot the ball better. I just feel like it always. Am I supposed to explain?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just feel like
the floor is yours.
It always. I think that's where I struggle the most. I'm like, if you're so for lacrosse, we like. When I'm on attack, I like really like I'm in the middle catching the ball with all these people around me, and I'm like, but you can do it, but I'm just like after drop, and sometimes like it couldn't have been me, it could have been like a poor pass, and but I like take it on me, and my problem is I like to take all the blame for everything because I don't want other people to feel bad, so I put a lot on myself in that sense. And that's kind of where it's harder because I'm taking on not just my own like negative stuff, but everybody else's, and I'm trying to work through double the load or triple the load. So I think that is what, as like being a person who may be too nice sometimes, I think that's where I'm affected by that. So.
Okay, yeah, that totally makes sense.
Mine is you are the weakest link. Mine's a little deep and a little getting in there more because I've always felt like the weakest one of my class. My class is we're pretty strong. We've got a lot of girls, and from the get-go, we've been a strong class, and we've had a lot of playing time. My sophomore year, I was the only person in my class who didn't start, and that really, I mean, starting has never really bothered me, but because I was the only one in my class that didn't, it kind of, I felt like I was just the weakest player in my class. I don't know.
Mine is, are you kidding me, bro? Like, that feeling of, like, when you, like, mine's always, like, if somebody, like, gives you a simple pass and, like, for some reason say you can't receive it, and then even when you receive it, you, like, mess up the next part, and you're just like, are you kidding me? Like, why can't I get this right?
Yeah, let's identify with that one. So, like, you guys can see after, like, talking through it right there, how that can just destroy any confidence that you have. Like, whether it's within the first 2 minutes of the half, or it's the last 2 minutes of the game, you can be feeling your best and you don't receive a pass right, or you drop a pass in the middle, or you can be gone then for the rest of the game, and you're just not going to be as effective teammate or individual player as you are if you were like. So let's do our positives.
All right, so mine is you can do it. You're a good lacrosse player, and I think that's just like what one of my coaches who I was very close with like always told me, and I still like talk to her to this day about like I'm ever like feeling down in a practice or afterwards, I'll go and like talk to her, and I just like show her something like you're a good lacrosse player, like you wouldn't be here if you weren't a good lacrosse player. Like
I feel the same way. Mine is you can do this, you can do anything. I tell myself this all the time throughout the day because I get stuck a lot of the time. Like everyone thinks I'm so positive as well, like all the time, but I'm not. I usually just have to tell myself that I'm positive, because then I will be.
I totally get it.
Mine's pretty simple. It's just like, you got this. I feel like it's like something you say within your head. Like, I always think of it like when you're doing those runs, like that last 2 sprints you have to do, like you have to say that to yourself to be able to do it. But I feel like even though I say it to myself, it's something I constantly feel like I have to have a teammate say to me sometimes, or even a coach. Like, you know, like I still, even though I'm saying it to myself, I need like the reassurance of somebody else believing in me too.
Who you are. So, do you guys have any like techniques or mental images that you use when you catch yourself thinking negatively?
Well, I tell myself to stop, but I say it a little aggressively in my head using some choice words. But I get really angry with myself for thinking things, but I guess it's easier to say positive things than it is to stop negative things.
Yep.
I feel like I'm kind of like I tell myself to stop, and I'm like I'll start thinking negatives. Like I don't know if you count this as negative, but I'm always like, okay, like in a minute and a half you're done, and you don't have to worry about this anymore. But I'm like, so I try to like twist the negative into a positive. But I'm like, okay, you need to stop you, and then I go with the positive. So I think my like whole motto is like that there's a negative that comes to my mouth, I need to follow with the positive.
Yep.
I think mine is just like reminding myself that it's like okay to make mistakes and you're not perfect. And then I'm like, well, like you wouldn't be here if you didn't make mistakes before to learn from them.
Right, yeah, credit sometimes. So, what we're gonna do is, I want you guys to take your negative tag and like crumble it up. Not too long ago was like the NBA All-Star game, and they had the dunk contest.
Oh.
So, I want you guys to literally take your negative name tag and just like your best like LeBron James like into the trash can.
All right, this is one-handed, but my try sign.
Yeah! Cuba.
All right, go Kira. Beautiful job.
Oh, that was all right. All right. Tag. The only thing left is your positive. So you literally threw in the trash your negative self-talk. So, what was your biggest takeaway from this, if you have one?
I think it's more just like when you talk about it out loud, like you realize like where you're stronger in a sense of like, okay, like it's hard for me to think of a weakness, or it's hard for me to think of a positive right now, and it's just kind of like, and like we're kind of put on the spot to think of one, and it's like in the game you're gonna be like, you thought the negative right away, and it's like, okay, then it made me realize it's like in a game, okay, right away I thought of a negative, like I need to next time, like I want to think of a positive first. So, and the same thing, it's like it was hard to think of like the right way that you say your positive things, and maybe like you only say it one way and that's good, or you can learn like, okay, now maybe I can start saying other ones. So, and just like hearing what you two also say, like yeah, our sports are different, but they're also very similar. Like I mean, like everybody's different.
Yeah.
So I felt like it was very nice to like see what you all think, and I know
Yeah. I think talking about it out loud with other people just helps you realize that everyone goes through it, because you always think that like, oh, it's just happening to me. I'm like the most negative person on this team, or I'm the most positive person on this team, but everyone has like their moments of being both. What she says, and like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. So, well, like, you get to do this, you get to do that, you get to play. Like, yeah, there's only 1 minute left, like, you get that minute left. Not like you have a half to play. Oh my gosh, like, I only get one more half. And
Yeah, but I think for me, it's like hearing that other people go through the same thing. Because like being Kira's teammate, it's like really easy for like, for example, like when you think about like Kira's so fast, and it's like, oh, it feels like she, like everything always works out for her, and like she couldn't, like, how does she ever think this way, or like something like that.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, even for like, if you think about freshmen, like looking at the seniors, like it looks like there's no way they could be thinking that way. So like hearing that teammates or other sports think the same way you do, like it's easier to realize, okay, like let's talk about this, like what can we do to solve the problem.
I definitely think like moving forward, this is something you guys can do like within your individual teams too. Like you just get little like groups to you guys, you just be like, let's talk about it. So yeah, that's all I have. You guys are great.
Thank you. Yeah, that was